Welcome to the Once Upon a Sunday Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts, Josh Kimmel, Dave Campbell, and Justin Bowerly.
Welcome to Once Upon a Sunday Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Josh. We are breaking down the waiver wire for you again, just like we do every single Tuesday. And we have quite a bit of news regarding the injury front. And we have an irrelevant trade that we're probably going to talk about today. Somebody went to the Cincinnati Bengals. So without further ado, let's get my dapper guest on. My co-host, my boss, Justin Bowerly.
You're the boss.
No, you're the boss. You
yelled
at me all. You yelled at me all morning.
No,
I don't appreciate it.
That's not true.
But before we go any further, I know we're not going to pay off the bet today, but I do want to set it up. Somebody lost a bet, and Jahmyr Gibbs did not outscore Joe Mixon. And on Friday, Justin's going to pay off this bet. So make sure you watch our Friday ranking show, and Justin's going to open the show. He's going to open it by himself. And he's going to do that. He's going to do it. He's going to do the bet. He's going to chug a Smirnoff Ice. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I had to do it 2 weeks ago. It's his turn. So that's what you get, man. See, you combat the Kimmelnator and you lose every single time. Don't do it. Nate, you as well. Nobody knows Nate, but I beat him by 0.04 points last night in the guillotine lead to stay alive. Let's go. 0.04, Justin. I'm feeling good today. I'm feeling great.
It's good. I'm glad you are.
You know who's not feeling great? Why? Okay, are you? I see what you did there. You're trying to get you showing your colors of who you voted for, possibly. I don't know, maybe.
No, not at all. Actually, I'm trying to figure out why this side of my face is just completely dark, and I realized that my light is not close enough to me, so it's fine.
That's okay. I'm going natural light today because it's a beautiful cloudy day here in Florida. Let's talk about the news. We have a ton of injuries. Do you want to get to the trade first, just the irrelevant trade, just to knock it out of the park?
Yeah, sure. We can talk about the trades. There's a couple actually.
Trades, I missed them.
I mean, both or whatever. First, you got Khalil Herbert was traded to the Cincinnati Bengals this morning. This is literally like less than 24 hours after they announced that Zach Moss will miss the rest of the season with a neck injury. So he's expected to be out. That leaves just Chase Brown. The Bears weren't really using Khalil Herbert anymore, really, so they traded him for I assume some picks. I didn't see any of the compensation anywhere. I don't know if you did. The other one is a little more questionable. You got Jonathan Mingo going to the Cowboys for a fourth round pick. And if anybody is wondering, yes, the Cowboys got a 5th round pick for Amari Cooper, and they had also swapped 6th round picks. So they paid more to get Jonathan Mingo over Amari Cooper.
Hey, you know what? This is confirmed. Jerry Jones is an average dynasty player. He thinks age is all that matters. All right. So we have some news and some injury news, of course. But I don't like to talk about the chat much, but Scary Terry is alive and well, and I'm happy. I really am. I am happy. I know we buried him. We bury players. If you're new to the show, we bury players once a week. And we're going to change that next year to we can't bury a player until about week 4 or 5, because I think it's too early in the season to make assumptions. Yeah. And that's where most of our mistakes were in weeks 1 through 4, I believe. But we've been spot on the rest of our burials. Like none of them have really come back to life. Addison showed some life this week, which is awesome. I don't want any of these players to fail. I want them all to revive themselves and become zombies. I really do. So Josh, thank you for calling me out. But let's get into some injury news. Justin?
Yeah. So first up, we already talked about Zach Moss, but Eric All Jr. also on the Cincinnati Bengals, the tight end, the rookie tight end there. This isn't like super relevant because he's only rostered in 2% of the leagues, but he is out for the season with an ACL tear. So everybody that was hoping that Eric All would continue to be better, keep waiting. Next up, one of the ones that I'm worried about the most, CeeDee Lamb, it has a shoulder injury. He has an AC joint sprain and is considered week to week. And if you're keeping up with Will Levis, this is the same injury that Will Levis also has. They have a mild sprain to their AC joint. So that is slightly concerning. Less concerning because it's a wide receiver, but you still got to get your shoulder up there. You still got to be able to catch the ball, land on it, all the things. So that does suck. He's wide receiver 4 for the last 3 weeks, wide receiver 17 last week because of the injury, even though he scored 16.2 points last week. AJ Brown is dealing with that knee injury that we saw there, the game that pulled him out. He is considered day to day, and there is optimism that he will play this weekend. Dak Prescott, speaking of the Cowboys, is going to miss considerable time. He is likely to hit the IR with that hamstring issue, which means he will be out for about 4-ish weeks at minimum, which means Cooper Rush and or Trey Lance might be the quarterback going forward for the Dallas Cowboys.
Can we pause real quick?
Yep.
Who do you prefer? Would you prefer to see Trey Lance see what he can do? Or would you prefer to go with old faithful Cooper Rush and just know you're not going to win football games?
I'm going to be curious to see what the comments say here since Josh Wingate is watching and he's a big Cowboys fan. And we actually haven't heard from Derek, and he's a Cowboys fan, on who he would prefer. But I think I would roll out Trey Lance if you lose this week. They're currently 2-5, and this is kind of a make it or break it. If you can go 11-5 somehow and make the playoffs, that's great. Don't think it's going to happen. But if you lose this week, I think you start seeing what you got in Trey Lance to see if he is even a viable backup for Dak Prescott moving forward. But I think if you think that Cooper Rush is going to be the guy that can get you the win, like the Colts did with Joe Flacco, then you play him.
I'm just speaking dynasty formats and all fantasy formats.
Oh, you're talking about actual fantasy football.
No, I was giving my explanation. So because you're the straight man on the show, I'm just the Joe on the show. I don't wear a suit and tie, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But for real, I would like to see Trey Lance out there because he was a first-round pick. He was a top 5 pick or top 10 pick, whatever it may be. He had promise. Why would you not roll him out there? Why would you trade for him and still start Cooper Rush? Yes, you're 2-5, but let's be honest. If you're talking real life football, the Eagles are ahead of them. The Commanders are ahead of them. Even the Giants are somewhat ahead of them at this point. I mean, they're both bad, right? But at least the Giants have a little bit more promise with Daniel Jones at quarterback, unfortunately. Why would you not put Trey Lance in there and see what he can do? And plus, for dynasty implications, a lot of my teams would freaking flourish or at least show some life because I was a Trey Lance guy and I traded for him in multiple leagues before this whole disaster. So personally, I would love to see Trey Lance. I hope it gets there, but I don't know if they actually will pull the trigger.
I think they went the Cowboys went with Cooper Rush because when he starts, he is 5-1 for the Cowboys. So you're expecting veteran backup who has been there before. He's won the game for them. You put Cooper Rush out there. You saw Trey Lance lose in San Francisco and kind of be shafted because he dealt with injuries and then it wasn't a great team yet. But I think you go with what you know until there's no more going anymore. And I think the Cowboys are on verge of the season as a loss for them.
Why is there no pitchforks? Why is there no pitchforks and torches for Trey Lance like there are for AR5? Oh, give him a chance. But RG3 out here, go. What are we doing? Why didn't Trey Lance get that? Just kind of weird. We can move on.
I don't know.
That's
Joe McMillan, we saw him miss Monday Night Football last night with a hamstring injury issue. So that's something to definitely watch, as that is clearly the wide receiver 1 in Tampa. But honestly, the wide receivers are getting outshined by the tight ends. So T. Higgins is still dealing with a quad injury. This is something definitely to watch because he did miss practice yesterday and he has a short week against the Ravens this week on Thursday Night Football. Amari Cooper is dealing with a wrist injury. He is considered day-to-day. Something else, Keon Coleman is also dealing with a wrist injury and is considered day-to-day. So the Bills and their wrists, I don't know what's going on. Drake London, this one's a bit concerning. He has a hip injury and is considered day-to-day. He finished this week as wide receiver 37 with 10.7 points. He's been wide receiver 24 over the last 3 weeks. So that is a starting wide receiver that we are missing right now. DK Metcalf, dealing with that knee injury. They're on bye this week, and he is expected to be back in week 10 or 11 after the bye. Nico Collins, they are evaluating him throughout the week. He had that hamstring injury that put him on IR, and we could see him come back, and that would be big news for the Houston, who is struggling with only Tank Dell right now. And then Christian McCaffrey had his practice window open with that Achilles injury. We haven't seen him play yet, but we know what he can do, and hopefully he can return to glory. I know you had some personal opinions about him.
Sit out
last
forever.
night.
Never come back. Never come back. I'm over you. I'm done. I'm done. Because you know why? Every team I drafted him 101, I'm done. There's no point.
I have him in a dynasty that I am sitting around third place right now, and it's a loaded roster. I've only lost to the top two teams, and getting Christian McCaffrey would propel me up and to victory. So I would like to see him come back and play.
Sit forever. Waivers.
You ready to get to waivers? Yeah.
Good morning to you, Matteo, and everyone else watching. Again, thank you so much for everyone that watches every single Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're here live every single Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon on the Fins Talk Sports Network. Of course, at OUSFF Pod as well. Make sure you go follow our OUS page if you are watching from Fins Talk or from Twitter. We would love the support over there. We're trying to grow as well. And make sure you follow us on Twitter at OUSFFpod.com and our website, OUSFFpod.com. So let's get into these waivers. We have some must adds because we've lost some quarterbacks and we do have some bye weeks. You want to give out those bye weeks real quick?
Oh man, I told you earlier today. So off of memory, we got the Seahawks, the Raiders.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I got to bail them out. Don't worry, guys. Because you know what?
I told you earlier.
You told me earlier, which is fine. It's fine. I will. You look it up because I'm gonna talk about Drake May, my man, Drake May, my dude, my homie. He was my number one target. If you have, go ahead. What are the other guys?
Okay, so we'll start this over. Bye weeks this week. We've got the Browns, Packers, Seahawks, and Raiders. So some really good fantasy players in there, and then just there's not a ton, but there are some.
Well, if you're missing Dak because of injury, and you're missing Geno Smith because of bye weeks, if you're missing a quarterback at all, maybe you rode with Jameis, and Jameis is now on bye. Drake May is a very, very, very good addition, I believe, going to this week. Drake May gives you the upside that you don't get from Jacoby Brissett or anyone over there in New England. He's really, really energized this offense. I am a big Drake May believer. It makes me sick that I'm a Dolphins supporter, and then they just get a good quarterback just like that, no problems. It's kind of ridiculous, if you ask me, but it is what it is. They had to deal with Mac Jones for a little bit over there. I just like what Drake May is doing. He's putting up some big numbers against decent teams. Last week, he was completing 70% of his passes. He also added 95 yards rushing on the ground. If you think that's an anomaly, think again. Because last week he rushed for 46 yards and a touchdown. So the guy has legs if he wants to use them. In his last four starts, he's been a top 10 quarterback, or at least top 15 quarterback, with that one bad week against Jacksonville. I think he's solid, man. I don't see anything to hate about this guy. What are your thoughts?
No, he's been killing it the last couple of weeks. Even finishing his QB 16 last week, he's been 14 over the last 3 weeks. 17.7 points is pretty respectable from a quarterback. Got pretty decent matchups: Chicago, Los Angeles, and Miami coming up. And I agree with you. Coming from somebody that lives in Indianapolis and dealt with the New England Patriots my entire childhood, I hate the fact that the New England Patriots have another franchise quarterback ready to go for the next 15, 20 years. So, yeah, only rostered in 40% of the leagues. If you lost Dak, or you have Jordan Love on bye this week, or Geno Smith on bye this week, Drake May is a perfect person to put in there because he doesn't have a bye week until week 14. So you have him until Dak is able to come back, if Dak does come back. So
Yep.
that's great.
He's only rostered in 14% of leagues. I've been starting him for a while now, because Superflex leagues, especially in Superflex leagues. But if you are still in that one traditional, it could be very scary to start a rookie, especially for New England, when you probably can't name a wide receiver on that team. Like, let's be legit. You watch football week in, week out, and you're like, who's that guy? Polka dot? Like, who? Exactly. That's how you feel with the New England Patriots. I get it. But Drake May, again, he's doing it on the ground. He likes to scramble, and it's a very underrated stat for him. So definitely
Yeah,
like,
and we talked about it in rookie evaluations. Dave mentioned about how he is a very good. He's got high rushing upside. That's not being talked about because we have quarterbacks like Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels in this draft. We knew this coming in that he could have rushing upside for the New England Patriots. I know Dave wanted him in Minnesota for that exact reason. So this doesn't really surprise me, but hey, this is rushing upside that you're not expecting to get from Drake May or from
yep,
your quarterback.
yep. What about that pass, by the way, to Ramondre Stevenson, where he created that? That was just magical. It was
What about that? What about that offensive lineman, Michael Jordan, that did absolutely nothing and touched absolutely no one on that exact same play?
good job. You did his job. They still scored 6 points, and he didn't get physical at all. Do you want to answer Mateo's question in the chat first, or do you want to move on to the next guy?
Oh yeah, this one I am assuming what you're talking about, right? I'm in 12th
Yep.
place with a 3-6 record, and the first place team has 8 wins, and the second place team has 5 wins. My chances of making the playoffs, is there a chance? Well, if you are only 5 games back from first place, and we're in week 10, playoffs probably start week 15, so you got 10, 11, 12, 13,
Never
6
give up.
more weeks, you can get in first place. If he loses out, you win out. All the cards work out. Also, man, that league is interesting. If that's the different, like,
I mean,
that seems weird to me. But
I'm in
I
third
mean,
place in the league, and I'm 5-4.
that's wow. Okay,
It's called competitive.
that's parity. That is a very competitive league. So, Matteo, I think you can definitely still stay in this. If maybe try to make a trade and upgrade one of your positions if you have quite a bit of dead space on your bench that is scoring points that you're not taking advantage of. But yeah,
Hey,
make a trade and get
Mateo,
in there.
in the name of Nick A30, never give up, never back down. If you know, you know.
You're not out until
Always.
you're eliminated. So
I'm 1-8 in my main league, and I'm still starting I'm still trying. So anything is possible. So, all right.
I also did not dress up to vote. This is just how I am all the time. So
yeah, he's just like that. I definitely did dress up to vote, as you can tell. I want to give him my drip. My drip. I'm wearing a Margaritaville. Probably costs more than a suit. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. City Walk in Orlando. I bet you this jacket was like $120 when I bought it. Guaranteed.
I got this suit off of Amazon. So
I love it. I love it. All right, next guy on our list, Justin. We gotta speed it up. Justin Herbert, Los Angeles Chargers. He is another quarterback that you can go out and get. He might be more tougher to get because he is rostered in 48% of leagues, and he does have a bigger name than Drake May. That's why I put May first, because I think he's more obtainable. But in the last 3 weeks, he's been the quarterback 7. He's been getting it done somehow, some way, with the worst receiving core possibly in football. And possibly one of the worst passing quarterback coaches in all of football as well. But he's still doing a great job, actually. So what do you think about Justin Herbert? Do you like him over Drake May?
this is somebody that a lot of people have just completely forgotten about. We're not that far separated from Justin Herbert being a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Then you have some tough years with the Brandon Staley head coaching. No. And then we also expected the Chargers to completely just run the ball this year. And he has been doing pretty solid this last couple of weeks. He's gotten Quentin Johnson working, J.K. Dobbins, both on the rushing game and receiving game. The Chargers have been killing it. And like you said, he's been a top 12 quarterback. He's been a starting quarterback the last 3 weeks. So if you are missing Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, and any of the other guys this week, go get Justin Herbert. Like, there's no reason he should be on free agency right now.
Yeah, Justin Herbert, they weren't throwing the ball a ton, still not throwing the ball a ton compared to the other quarterbacks in the National Football League, but he's slowly going up in his passing. Weeks 1 through 4, he didn't throw the ball more than 30 times a game. Weeks 6 through 9, he's throwing the ball 30 times or more, 4 times or 3 times out of 4. So definitely throwing the ball a lot more. I do like it. That was my big knock on him. Is he going to get the yardage and the opportunities? Well, recently he has. So
Yeah.
that's what I feel about Justin Herbert. Next guy on our list, Hunter Henry, tight end for the New England Patriots. If you want to get spicy and double dip with Drake May and Hunter Henry, I'm all for that. Last week he was the tight end 9. He's been the tight end 8 since or in the past 3 weeks. This has been a big uptick because of Drake May. I'm a big Hunter Henry fan. I like Hunter Henry. I'm actually starting him in my flex in some leagues. How do you feel about Hunter Henry?
I love Hunter Henry right now. If you go back 4 weeks, he even goes up higher than tight end 8. So he has been doing very well for Drake May the last couple of weeks. And matchups against Chicago, Los Angeles, the Rams, and Miami coming up. This is a no-brainer. Like this is a guy. Like if you've got a Sam Laporta that you're just letting die on your starting lineup, you got Dalton Kincaid, you got one of those guys that you drafted to be your number 1 tight end, not performing. Hunter Henry and our next guy are the 2 guys that I would be going out there to get right now.
Yep. Just a reminder, Hunter Henry is 6th in targets throughout all tight ends. He is 3rd in slot snaps without all tight ends. That includes Kyle Pitts and all of them, Laporta. So you're like, oh, he's just a touchdown guy. He has 1 touchdown this season. He has 1 touchdown all season. So in the past, yes, he was a touchdown guy. This year, he is strictly a receptions guy because he has 39, 6th in the league at tight end position, and 414 receiving yards, which is 7th in the league. He is up there with the yardage and the catches. He's where we want to be at the tight end. The touchdown is just the cherry on top, which he doesn't get many these days. So that being said, Hunter Henry is one of my favorite targets for the tight end position. The next guy is Mike Gesicki, who he's been buried for about 2 years now. Feels like he's been buried. But he is back. Joe Burrow says, you know what, dog? I got you. Do that gritty all day long. I'll do it with you. Right? I love it's the best gritty in all football. Last week, he went totally bananas, 27 points. He was a tight end 1. He's been tight end 6 over the past 3 weeks. I love me some Mike Gesicki.
I do too. Yeah, he's been great. And with Eric All going down for the Bengals, that is 1 less tight end to take up his snaps. Higgins has been out the last 2 weeks, so that is probably where a lot of these targets over the last 2 weeks have come from. If Higgins also misses this week too, I would expect Mike Gesicki to be continuing to get production. Probably not 2 touchdowns against the Ravens, but I would expect him to get the targets, which leads to receptions, which leads to yards, which leads to fantasy points. So,
yes, Mike Gesicki all the way. Next guy on our list, the last guy on our must add. I don't know about this one, but let's go with it. Let's roll with it. Right? Nick Westbrook, a King, whatever his name is, 1% rostered. If you're desperate, I guess he is the best option for you at the wide receiver position. I'm going to let Justin talk about this one because I don't know.
The data points to this.
I don't know.
Here's the thing. You got the Chargers coming up. It's a favorable matchup for wide receivers, Minnesota and then Houston. So those are 2 more tougher matchups. But look over the last 4 weeks. He has 1 touchdown in every game for the last 4 weeks, even with limited targets. 2 targets, 1 reception in week 6, but he got the touchdown. Then he got 4 targets, 2 receptions, touchdown. Then he got 4 targets, and now he got 6 targets in the last week against the New England Patriots. He has been, since the bye week, he has progressively gotten better each week. And then you got to ask yourself, after Calvin Ridley, who are they throwing the ball to?
They're going 3 and out.
They have to throw it to somebody. And with Mason Rudolph starting, like he's just getting better and better. I would be more worried if Will Levis was to come in and then screw this all up. But Nick Westbrook, I don't know. Nick Westbrook. A lot of Titans fans really like this guy. He's very underrated, and he has statistically been doing well over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, he's statistically doing well. So if you need someone, because obviously we all need someone at this
Yeah.
point,
If
he's a
you
guy.
if you're missing CD Lamb, maybe AJ Brown, Jalen McMillan, T Higgins, Amari Cooper, Drake London, DK Metcalf, you're not sure about Nico yet, and there is nobody else out there.
Yes, or Sterling Shepard. All right, let's go to the worth a stash. We have one quarterback and two receivers in this one, but we're going to start with Demarcus Robinson, 26% rostered right now for your Los Angeles Rams. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are obviously the alphas there, and Kyron Williams is just a touchdown machine. So I'm curious, are we still believing in a wide receiver 3 over there in Los Angeles?
Dude, this is the second time this season that we have talked about, or probably the third time this season that we've talked about a Rams wide receiver that we think is going to be a guy. But the first time we talked about it was because Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua were both out. Those two are back, so I don't expect him to just ball like completely, but 4 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks is something not to turn your nose at. Then you factor in you got Miami, New England, and Philly coming up. This looks favorable. I mean, top 12 over the last 3 weeks. That's a starter over the last 3 weeks. 27.4 last week, 17.5 the week before, but 1.9 3 weeks ago. That is tough. I don't know how sustainable that is, though. That's my only worry, and that's why I'm not like go out there and get this guy, because is that sustainable? If you looked at last year, late into the season, from weeks 13 through 17, it was. He scored double-digit points every week. He scored more than 13.6 points every week. That's pretty good. Will that continue? Like, wasn't Cooper Kupp out at that point? Like, didn't they have other injury problems at that point?
This to me is more of a stash for, like, we don't handcuff receivers in fantasy football often, but this is one of those situations where you can. And to be honest with you, and I'm not agreeing with the statistics, or I'm not disagreeing with the statistics and your list right here, or our list, but I would put Demarcus Robinson above the last guy we spoke about and Nick Westbrook, because I just feel like he's a better football player overall, and he's proven it throughout his career. And if Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua go down again, which they're prone to do, they do that a lot, then Demarcus Robinson is clearly next man up. And I would rather have him on my roster at the very back end of it, just in case something goes down where, hey, it's Thursday and Puka has a knee injury again. But
Yeah.
this time he doesn't play. I like Demarcus Robinson. If you can get him cheap, definitely add him. $0 bids all around for him. 26% roster. People aren't looking at him because Puka and Cooper Kupp are back. He's definitely worth a stash.
Yep.
Next guy on our list, Mr. Trevor Lawrence. The hell is he doing on this list? 41%. I kid.
I was wondering the same earlier.
I
was wondering the same, man.
I joke. He's playing Minnesota, Detroit, and then he has a bye. Those are pretty good matchups, in my opinion. I do think Minnesota is struggling secondarily defensively. Trevor Lawrence can get the job done, and he's done it with Brian Thomas Jr. and Evan Ingram. He just hasn't done it throughout a whole season. It's been spurts. It's been like, weeks 7 through 9, he's awesome, but then he sucks. Weeks 12 through 16, he's an all-star. But what happened was week 1. I guess we're in a hot streak right now because he is quarterback 5 in the last 3 weeks, which is crazy. Good for him.
Don't look now, but he's been QB 11 the entire season.
Yeah, like, what is happening? That's just the way fantasy works sometimes. I'm not against Trevor Lawrence, but again, he's someone worth a stash if he's out there. 41% seems low to me. It seems like he'd be rostered higher. So go check out your league.
Yahoo and ESPN, man. Yeah, go check out those leagues because he is not being rostered in a lot. Mind you, he had 2 rushing touchdowns last week and 2 interceptions, still scored 21.5. So that's pretty solid.
He's had three rushing touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. He had a rushing touchdown last week too. That's huge. That's massive. Next up on our list, Xavier Legette, 36% rostered. Who's starting? Is it Bryce Young still? It's got to be Bryce.
It's got to be Bryce. Like, he should have earned that job back by now, right? I mean, you just beat the Saints. Like, that's you played tough against Denver. Like, I think he's earned it.
Yeah, he was wide receiver 27 last week. Wide receiver 34 over the last 3 weeks. Nothing special, nothing crazy. We don't expect too much, but that's 1 week removed with Deontay Johnson. So Xavier Legette does move into that wide receiver 1 role. Now that Deontay's gone for good. This is one of those things where, like, hey, there's always some player out there that always breaks out and crushes it for you in the last remaining weeks of the NFL season. He could be that guy, or he could not be. So he's definitely worth a stash, in my opinion.
Yeah, he was a big time wide receiver coming out into the draft this year, first round pick even. Don't forget the Panthers traded up to get this guy. They really do like him, or did they trade back? I think they traded up into the end of the first round. Yeah. Um, he was a highly touted wide receiver this year, and he's doing pretty well over the last couple of weeks. Hopefully Bryce Young still stays in there, and they seem to have found a connection. So, yeah, he is a little touchdown dependent. He doesn't have any games over 10 points that he doesn't have a touchdown in. So that's the only concern there with Legette.
Yep. Next segment will be worth a stash. We have one guy on this list. One guy and one guy alone. His name is Noah Brown, and he plays for the Washington Commanders. And Noah Brown is a guy who's known last year, go check out his stats, to come on the scene, have a bajillion touchdowns, and be awesome, and then just disappear. He did that with the Texans last year. It was disappointing.
He did that twice. He came around for 20 plus points for 2 games, and then missed 2 weeks, and then had 0 points 2 weeks, and then he had 22.
Yeah,
and then 6, and then
It's so
1 in your
frustrating.
championship. Like, it's so frustrating. I hate putting him on this list, but I mean,
He's getting the targets. He's getting the snap share. He was 81.1% week 8, 9. Week 9's not up here yet, but I'm not on my sleeper app.
50.
But how much? 50%?
50.
It's so weird.
6 targets in both games. So like he lost snap share, but still got the same amount of targets.
So weird. He is a deep threat guy. He had 124 air yards in week 8 against Chicago. They're a pretty stout defense. That's where he had his touchdown, only on 3 catches, though. It's hard for me to tell you to go grab this guy, but I'm not telling you to. I'm telling you that he's definitely worth a stash.
This is somebody that I think you pick up later in the week. You don't pick him up tonight. You don't waste fab on him, but you might go look at him for free later in the week once injury reports really come out and you kind of see what's happening. This is somebody that you could consider picking up at the end of the week, though.
Gotcha. All right, next segment, please. This is keep stashing players that we still think you could stash, and hopefully one day they'll do something. First guy, Chris Olave. This is not his fault. This is Derek Carr's fault. Derek Carr's killing players left and right. And Olave
can we talk about all the receivers that Derek Carr has just like ended?
We don't have enough time in this podcast.
We don't have enough time.
For that.
You're right.
We definitely don't have enough time. We have 10 minutes, buddy. So Chris Olave, we all saw him get destroyed on the field. And Michael Thomas went on his rants on Twitter. That was pretty great. And then Dave told me to stop looking at Michael Thomas because he's a bum. But either way, Chris Olave has been hurt in week 6 and now in week 9, both for head injuries. My question is, how the hell did he get into the ER and out in under 3 hours? There ain't no way. There is literally no way. Because before the 4 o'clock game's ending, Chris Hansen gave us an update saying he is out of the hospital and he's okay. Before the game's ended. If I go to the ER right now, I'm there till at least midnight. The hell?
But are you coming on with an ambulance with millions of dollars behind you?
That's all I'm saying. We need to fix that. Either way, I'm glad he's okay. I'm glad he's healthy. But we had these discussions with Tua about how his safety and how he shouldn't play football anymore and how he should maybe take a break. No one's having this conversation about Chris Olave at all.
I think the discussions should probably start soon. At least put a guardian cap on your helmet. Like, let's start minimally when you come back. At least get that guardian cap because he looked lights out. Derek Carr is literally throwing hospital balls and not caring anymore. So it's if I'm Chris Olave, I don't come back until Spencer Rattler is the quarterback or something like that. You gotta take care of yourself.
Yep, I agree. So Chris Olave, keep stashing just in case because he's a great athlete. It's just we don't know if or when he's going to return this year to play football. I might be over dramatic on this one, but I hate to see players laying on the field for an extended period of time when it could be avoided. Sam Laporta is the next guy, which we can start digging. We can start digging the ditch now. It takes about It takes a couple hours to build a 6-foot hole, but we should start for this guy. Sam Laporta, to me, we didn't put him in the burial yet, but he's got a foot in there, and I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about Sam Laporta. I really don't.
I think really the only thing that's keeping him out of there is the fact that offense is so high power that he should be getting the ball, but he's not. And that's weird to me. Like, they are spreading that ball around to everyone but Sam Laporta. 6 targets is the most he's received all season, and that was in week 8 against the Titans.
Yeah.
It's hard for him to get more than 3 targets, and he's just not producing. Like, if this was literally any other tight end outside the top 10, you would probably be saying, why are you keeping that guy? He's only getting you 4 points a game. If this was Tyler Conklin, would you be rostering Tyler Conklin with these stats? Would you be rostering Dalton Schultz with these stats, or Colby Parkinson?
Pat Fryermuth.
Yeah, Isaiah Likely, Noah Fant. Like, you're not rostering any of these guys because he's not scoring points.
So what we need to do as a fantasy community and just normal life, take the name away from it. Look at the stats, and it's week 9, week 10. It's late in the season. We're almost to the playoffs for fantasy football, and this guy's still being rostered. It's kind of ridiculous at this point. I suggest you drop him. I know that this is not the burial segment yet. We will have that next week for him. I'm guaranteed it's already reserved for him, but I will have seriously, and I will have I would have someone else spin fab on him. I would drop him tonight, or today, or now. If you're watching this, I would just drop him because you're gonna make someone else drop fab and make someone else start a guy who's gonna score him 2.7 points. Simple.
Yeah,
simple. Go get any other tight end, and you'll have just as much luck as Sam Laporta.
Yeah,
that's all I can say. I it's real at this point. And you can say the next thing about the next segment, which we can get into right now. All right, these players check back next week. All these players were drafted super high and had high expectations. Some might even be arguably a Hall of Famer. So we'll start with Jaylen Waddle, though, who's definitely not a Hall of Famer, who I had a pissy fit in our group chat about, and it changed immediately when he scored a touchdown. But still, Jaylen Waddle has just been ineffective and very, very, very ineffective, even when Tua's return. He did score a touchdown, which kind of saved his fantasy day, at least for me, 7.6 points, wide receiver 44. He's been the wide receiver 60 in the past 3 weeks. He's been not targeted. I don't know his situation. I've been in real life football with my real life friends who are Dolphins fans. We have the same conversations every week. Every time Waddle gets targeted and touches the football and lands on the turf, he stays there for about 2 minutes. He's hurt every single time. Every single time that man gets hurt when he gets touched. Every single freaking time. And I can't do it anymore. And I'm tired of it. I'm over it. I wish the Dolphins never extended him. I wish they would get rid of him. This is bleeding into real life football, but I'm just over his nonsense. And I don't know if it's him or if it's Tua or if it's McDaniels or if it's Tyreek. I don't know. But he's becoming, hey, you just said it with Laporta. If this guy was Demarcus Robinson, would you be holding on? No, you would not. You would drop this guy a long time ago. This guy's not worth a roster spot. And he's not worth your starting lineup. We might have a burial for this. We might have a 3-way burial next week. And this guy might be on the list as well.
You're absolutely right. He might be the first player in NFL history that scored 7 points or more and finished the game with -4 passing yards or receiving yards.
That pissed me off.
-4 yards.
That pissed me off.
It's awful. Let's move on.
Your guy. Oh no, we're going to this guy, Keenan Allen,
Keenan
of
Allen.
course. Oh man, I don't know. 75% rostered. Just everything you heard about camp. He's fat and slow. He's not fat and slow. He's fine, but he does not fit this offense apparently. Keenan Allen has just been hum ho for the past 3 weeks. Wide receiver 81, which is god awful. It's not going to get any better, folks. Although New England's not the greatest against the pass, Green Bay can give it up, and so can Minnesota. So I'm really, this one's a real check back next week. Let's see what he does.
It really is, because New England is a very favorable matchup for the Bears. Again, with wide receivers against New England, they give up top 10 points versus the wide receiver position. So Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, they all should get involved pretty well. The Bears, I don't know what's going on with that offense. No touchdowns last week. They had 1 touchdown the week before. The entire offense just isn't working right now. I almost put Caleb Williams on this list as well. But Keenan is just, he's getting the targets this season. Like he got 7 targets against Washington. He only brought in 2 of them. So it's not great. He got 10 targets last week against Arizona, brought in 4 of them. So is it a Keenan Allen problem? Is it a Caleb Williams problem? Is it a scheme problem? I don't know. But I do know for the Bears, Odunze is their best wide receiver at the moment. And who would have thought that at the beginning of the season?
Nope, not this guy. I told y'all that Odunze was going to be the JSN this year where he wasn't getting involved. Well, I guess I was wrong. I guess I was a little bit wrong. That's fine.
I mean, there's not really a great answer, because Odunze is wide receiver 59 on the season. Keenan Allen is wide receiver 78. DJ Moore is wide receiver 28. So there's not a starting wide receiver in fantasy on the Bears, and we all thought they were going to have multiple starters on that offense.
Yeah.
So,
Herbert went to got this. This is regarding Keenan Allen. Herbert went to the Bengals. Will that help Allen get more targets? I don't think Herbert was Herbert was even playing for the Bears or getting targets out of the backfield. I could be wrong on that. I could be 1,000% wrong on that. I don't have those stats pulled up. I haven't heard. It's like Star Wars. Khalil Herbert. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Herbert has 2 total targets on the entire season, and that was week 2. He has not gotten a single attempt or target since week 3.
Yeah, he's been ineffective and not even on the field.
He's just not used.
The problem is with that whole offense is there's too many mouths to feed, and Caleb Williams isn't. Not because I think he's very good. I think Caleb Williams is very good. It's just that's not the scheme they're running right now, and we just have to deal with it. And they're winning football games. So who are we to argue? It's just for fantasy, it's not working out.
Moving on, this one's quick. Michael Pittman Jr. dealing with a back injury. He is not being effective on that offense. Also, it is clear if you watch a Colts game that Josh Downs is the best wide receiver in Indy. Pittman's last time scoring double-digit points was week 6 against Tennessee. He did not do that in Miami, Houston, or Minnesota. Now they got Buffalo, New York, Detroit. That's going to suck. He is a check back next week if he can somehow do it against Buffalo. They do have New England in week 13, so that's a bonus. But
what quarterback's going to be starting?
Exactly. And that's the thing, is you don't know what quarterback is, and do you really want to be going, oh, which quarterback do I pick? Like, or do I put my Pittman in there? Do I not? Like, oh, Flacco's great for the wide receivers, and then does absolutely nothing. Like, don't even worry about it. Josh Downs, Jonathan Taylor, the only 2 fantasy players on the Colts now. So,
yep. All right, let's have a few. Oh.
But we are very close. We might have a 4-way burial next week.
4-way. Okay. I like 4-ways. All right, let's have a burial right now. All right. This is my favorite segment of the week. Let's go. Let's play the music.
And now, a moment of silence.
I heard no music. That's okay. I heard no music.
Music.
We did not hear music. In the chat, let us know. Did you hear that? Because I did not hear any music.
I heard music.
Continue. We did not hear music. But all right, hey, this is fitting because I didn't see Devin Singletary play football in weeks here. We got Tyrone Tracy coming out of nowhere, being a freaking superstar, and Devin Singletary is 1,000% buried. He's 64% rostered, so check your roster. If you still roster this guy, and he is giving you 7 carries for 33 total yards last week, against Washington. You know it's done. You wrote him out weeks 1 through 4. That's fine. He was pretty decent. Nothing great. He had one top 10 finish, but he is still being rostered. Same situation for Sam Laporta and these other guys. If Devin Singletary had a different name, if his name was Khalil Herbert, would you be rostering him at this point? You wouldn't. You would have moved on by now. So it's kind of ridiculous that 64% of you have not moved on. He's got Minnesota and Detroit in the next 2 weeks. And again, he's been phased out. Tyrone Tracy has been a freaking revolution for that football team. He is actually one of the fantasy football MVPs in the past 3 weeks, and Devin Singletary has been completely phased out. So if you're still starting him and you're still rostering him at 64%, it's over. It's been fun while it lasted. Hell, last year he was one of our favorite players in Houston. Remember that? Remember I called that? Remember you called that? Remember we all called that? Freaking awesome. You didn't?
You did.
Didn't?
You did.
I did. I know, but I'm giving the whole show. I'm giving the whole show credit.
Oh, thank you.
We're all family here, right? If I'm eating, we're all eating, right? Same thing for you.
I mean, he finished his second worst in his career last season. So
Devin Singletary?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because he only played half the season, but the last 4 or 5 weeks, he freaking balled.
He played
out.
17 games last season.
Yeah, he played, but he wasn't the primary starter. That's like you saying Tyrone Tracy right now is like, oh, he was only running back third. Yeah, because he didn't get run until later on in the season. Stop hating. That's hating. Right. All right, stop hating.
Singletary's being buried. Why are we not hating on him?
Because we have to show our respects. Whenever a family member dies, we just go and talk about how terrible they were. Oh man, I hated my Uncle Scott.
Family member.
Uncle Scott sucked. He was a racist. He voted for Trump. Right? Is that what we're saying? I love this show so much. But yeah, that's the funeral. No one heard the music, by the way, so it wasn't a true funeral, and it was anticlimactic. But guess what?
I'm going back and making sure that played because it did play.
All right, but just to let everyone know, just because it's an obvious doesn't mean it's a bad call. He's rostered in 64%. Like that's.
Let's make that 30 or less percent next week.
Yeah, please. Can we get?
I can only imagine he's only being rostered on teams that are either it's like somehow a really deep league on their bench, or it's a team that is currently 2-6 or 1-8 or whatever the record is right now, and they just completely forgot that Devin Singletary is even on their roster, and they forgot about that league.
Yep. So do me a favor, do me a favor real quick. 41 people watching right now. Drop Devin Singletary if you roster him. Screenshot it to Twitter and don't add us. Tag OUS Funeral. Let's make it a thing.
Oh yes, Funeral. Like it.
I like it. All right. Well, make sure you like this show. We'll be back tomorrow with our showdown. We already have the players picked. I'm excited to argue with Justin. Hey, we might make another bet and he might lose again. It's going to be fun times. Make sure you stay tuned for our Friday show, which we do break down our rankings, let you know who we have too high, who we have too low. Justin's going to be chugging a Smirnoff Ice. I cannot wait to see it. What flavor are you going to get? That's the question. That is the question.
I don't know. Whatever Walmart has.
Whatever Walmart has.
Or whatever they have.
First. All right, guys. I'm going to play this music and take us home. Make sure you follow us at Fins Talk Sports Network, at OUSFFpod.com, at OUSFFpod everywhere. Instagram. We're starting to do things over there. We made a funny video. Well, not a funny video. We took a clip and we put it on Instagram. That was awesome. Right? It was funny? No? Funny like what? Funny haha? Like I'm a clown? You don't know that movie reference, but it's okay. I work with young people. Make sure you follow us everywhere. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Until tomorrow, peace out.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. Follow on X and Instagram at OUSFFPOD. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.